Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into a really powerful idea for Kenya's future, something that comes from a pretty sharp analysis of how things are working. We're going to look at how just one key shift in education policy could potentially kickstart some major national progress. And right off the bat, the analysis we're looking at doesn't pull any punches. I mean, look at this quote. This isn't just some casual observation. It really feels more like a plea, doesn't it? It just lays out the massive challenges the nation is grappling with right now. So you gotta understand, this isn't all happening in a bubble. Kenya's really at a crossroads. The economy's struggling, unemployment is a huge issue, and you've got crime and inequality on the rise. But, and this is the interesting part, right in the middle of all this, you have this new wave of super patriotic Gen Z students hitting the streets, leading protests, and basically shouting that they really care about where their country is headed. Okay, so before we can even talk about a solution, we have to dig into the problem, right? What's going on? Why isn't the current system able to tackle these challenges? Let's take a look at where the policy is, falling flat. And boom, here it is, the absolute core of the issue. The analysis points its finger right at TVET. That's the whole system for technical and vocational education and training. This system is supposed to be the engine creating skilled workers, but it's totally tied up. It's not serving the long-term needs of Kenya. Instead, it's stuck following the short-term, constantly changing goals of the government. Yeah, this phrase from the source really says it all. Beholden on government's short-term policies. That's a powerful word, beholden. It paints this picture of dependency, Like these schools can't even think about the future because they're always just reacting to whatever the political flavor of the month is. And this really lays out the mismatch perfectly. On one hand, you've got these government policies that are often super rigid, kind of slow to adapt. And on the other hand, you've got what the country actually needs for the long haul. People with dynamic, modern skills who can pivot. It's like they're in a tug of war, pulling in completely opposite directions. And what happens when you have that kind of mismatch? Well, the result is pretty predictable, and honestly, it's really damaging. The stuff being taught in schools, the curricula, it just gets old and stale. It can't keep up. So you end up with students who have a piece of paper, a qualification, that doesn't actually match the jobs that exist today or the ones that are coming tomorrow. Okay, but it's not all bad news, I promise. Now that we've diagnosed the problem, the analysis offers up a pretty powerful solution. It's all about unleashing the true power of education through this idea called TVET autonomy. So what exactly is TVET autonomy? Well, the idea itself is pretty simple, but the impact, potentially huge. It's all about giving these technical and vocational schools the freedom, the independence, to create their own programs and set their own goals without being chained to the whims of short-term government policies. And this is where you can see the cascade effect, right? It's like a chain reaction. Step 1, the schools gain their independence. Step 2, that freedom lets them totally overhaul their curriculum, making it modern and tailored to what's actually needed out there. And the final, most important step, students walk out with skills that are genuinely valuable in today's economy. All right, so we've got a plan for the education system. That's great. But how does that help with the bigger picture? The economic crisis, the unemployment we talked about at the start? Well, let's connect those dots. Let's map out that path to progress. And it all kicks off right here. With autonomy. This is the first domino that has to fall. The analysis is super clear on this. If you don't have this independence, nothing else happens. This isn't just some small change. It's the spark that lights the whole fire. Because once you have that autonomy, that directly leads to modern skills. When these schools are free from those old, rigid rules, they can finally start teaching what the future actually requires. We're talking skills in things like renewable energy, modern farming techniques, digital marketing, you name it. And that is what's going to start fueling national development. See, when you have a whole generation of people with these kinds of modern skills, they don't just go out and find jobs, they create them. They innovate, they start businesses, they push the whole country forward. So now we're coming full circle. Remember all those problems we listed at the very beginning? Well, a generation with the right skills can tackle them head on. They can bring down unemployment because they're not just more employable, they're also the ones starting new businesses. All that activity drives economic growth. And when you have a population that's prosperous and engaged, the whole country is in a much better position to handle big crises and just move forward. So as we get ready to wrap this up, the analysis really wants us to zoom out and look at the bigger picture here. This isn't just about some boring education policy. This is being framed as a massive question for Kenya's entire future.
Yeah, this is so much bigger than just updating a few textbooks. The argument is that fixing technical education is an absolutely critical, non-negotiable piece of the puzzle, a fundamental pillar in the mission to, and I'm quoting the source here, rescue Kenya from the very real challenges it's facing.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. The whole idea here is that the way forward is to trust and empower the next generation. You do that by giving their schools the freedom they need to actually prepare them for the world they're going to inherit. So I'll leave you with this. Can empowering students really rescue a nation? It's a huge question and definitely one worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.